On a chilly March afternoon in 2009, what began as a scenic hike along Oregon's picturesque Eagle Creek Trail ended in tragedy. Rhonda Casto, a 23-year-old aspiring model and young mother, plummeted to her death from a treacherous cliff. The circumstances surrounding her fall would spark a years-long investigation, culminating in murder charges against her boyfriend, Stephen Nichols. This case, with its twists and turns, would captivate the public and raise haunting questions about love, betrayal, and justice. The story of Ronda Casto's death is a complex tapestry of relationships, ambitions, and dark secrets. It serves as a stark reminder of how quickly life can change and the devastating consequences that can arise from troubled partnerships. As we delve into the details of this tragic case, we'll explore the lives of those involved, the events leading up to that fateful day, and the long road to uncovering the truth. Rhonda Casto was born in 1985 in Portland, Oregon. From an early age, she exhibited a vibrant personality that would define her throughout her short life. Friends and family described her as outgoing, fun-loving, and kind-hearted. Growing up in the Pacific Northwest, Rhonda developed a love for the outdoors and an appreciation for the natural beauty that surrounded her. As a teenager, Rhonda's striking looks caught the attention of those around her. She began to nurture dreams of a modeling career, seeing it as a path to excitement and success. Her ambition and natural charisma seemed to pave the way for a promising future in the industry. Despite her aspirations in the glamorous world of modeling, Rhonda remained grounded. She was known for her close relationships with family and friends, particularly her mother Julia and her younger sisters. These connections would play a significant role in the events that would later unfold. In 2005, fate intervened in Rhonda's life when her mother, Julia Simmons, answered a Craigslist ad for a room to rent. The apartment belonged to Stephen Nichols, a recently divorced man 10 years Rhonda's senior. Julia moved in, and it wasn't long before she introduced her 20-year-old daughter to her new landlord. The attraction between Rhonda and Stephen was immediate and intense. Despite the significant age gap, Rhonda was 20, while Stephen was 30. They quickly became a couple. Stephen's wealth and maturity were appealing to the young Rhonda, who saw in him a chance for stability and adventure. On the surface, Rhonda and Stephen's relationship seemed idyllic. He showered her with gifts and eventually bought a 2-bedroom apartment for them to share. 3 years into their relationship, they welcomed a daughter, Annie, into the world. Rhonda embraced motherhood wholeheartedly, with many commenting that she seemed born for the role. However, beneath the veneer of happiness, cracks were beginning to show. According to Stephen, Rhonda was eager to get married, and they had even looked at wedding rings together. But Rhonda's family and friends painted a different picture. They described a toxic relationship marked by frequent arguments and emotional abuse. Rhonda had reportedly confided in a close friend about her desire to leave Stephen and take their daughter with her. As time went on, Rhonda began to open up more about the troubles in her relationship. Her best friend, Jessica Colburn, became a confidant for Rhonda's deepest fears and frustrations. Rhonda revealed that in the months leading up to her death, Stephen had become physically abusive. The once promising relationship had devolved into a cycle of fear and control. Rhonda's mother, Julia Simmons, later revealed a chilling statement her daughter had made. In what would be her last conversation with her family, Rhonda joked darkly about her relationship with Stephen, saying, "He is either going to give me a ring or throw me off a cliff, ha ha ha." This statement would later take on a haunting significance in light of the events that followed. On March 16, 2009, Rhonda and Stephen set out for a hike along the Eagle Creek Trail in the Columbia River Gorge. The trail, Known for its breathtaking views and challenging terrain, features narrow paths with steep drop-offs. According to Stephen, the hike was part of a pact they had made to tackle Oregon's top trails and lose weight together. As they made their way along the trail, the weather took a turn for the worse. Rain began to fall, making the already treacherous path even more dangerous. What happened next remains a point of contention. Stephen claims that Rhonda, in a playful moment, slipped off the path and fell 150 feet to her death. However, the exact circumstances of her fall would become the central question in the investigation that followed. The aftermath of Rhonda's fall was chaotic and tragic. Stephen claims he scrambled down the cliff to reach her, finding her critically injured. He says he attempted to perform CPR and tried to keep her warm, but ultimately Rhonda succumbed to her injuries at the scene. At 6:09 p.m., Stephen Nichols placed a frantic call to 911. He reported that Rhonda had slipped while they were hiking and fallen off the cliff. In his account to the dispatcher, he stated that it had taken him an hour to make his way down to where Rhonda had fallen. He claimed to have attempted mouth-to-mouth resuscitation and said he had lain on top of her for 45 minutes to keep her warm until he himself became cold. The 911 call would later become a crucial piece of evidence in the investigation. Investigators would scrutinize every detail, from the timing of the call to the specifics of Stephen's account. The discrepancies between his initial statement and later versions of events would raise red flags for those looking into Rhonda's death. Initially, Rhonda's death was treated as a tragic accident. However, as investigators delved deeper into the circumstances surrounding the fall, suspicions began to arise. The lead detective, Gary Tiffany, stated that by the morning after the incident, the case had shifted from an accidental fall investigation to a homicide inquiry. One of the key aspects of the investigation was the forensic analysis of Rhonda's injuries. Dr. Christopher Young, the medical examiner and forensic pathologist who examined Rhonda's body, noted that her injuries were primarily concentrated below the waist. Her pelvis was described as essentially shattered, which the defense would later argue was consistent with a feet-first fall rather than being pushed. As the investigation progressed, detectives began to uncover troubling details about Stephen Nichols' past. They discovered files detailing altercations with his ex-wife, including accusations of strangulation and an attempt to push her off a balcony. These allegations, though never resulting in charges, cast a shadow over Nichols' character and added weight to the suspicions surrounding Rhonda's death. As the case unfolded, several theories emerged about what truly happened on the Eagle Creek Trail that day. The prosecution maintained that Stephen Nichols had deliberately pushed Rhonda off the cliff, motivated by a combination of relationship troubles and financial gain. They pointed to the life insurance policy Nichols had taken out on Rhonda as evidence of premeditation. The defense, on the other hand, presented alternative scenarios. They argued that Rhonda's death could have been a tragic accident, the result of treacherous trail conditions and possibly impaired judgment due to marijuana use. As the case progressed, Nichols himself introduced a new and controversial theory that Rhonda's fall might have been a suicide. This claim was vehemently denied by Rhonda's family and friends, who insisted she had everything to live for, especially her young daughter. Prosecutors believed they had uncovered a strong motive for murder: money. Several months before Rhonda's death, Stephen Nichols had increased her life insurance policy to $1 million. After her death, he attempted to collect on this policy, a move that raised immediate suspicions. Eventually, Nichols agreed to split the insurance payout with Rhonda's mother and their daughter's estate. Another potential motive emerged as investigators dug into Nichols' personal life. It was revealed that Nichols had been involved in a sexual relationship with Ronda's younger sister, Melanie, who was only 16 at the time. This shocking revelation not only exposed Nichols to potential statutory rape charges, but also suggested a possible motive for wanting Ronda out of the picture. Despite the suspicions surrounding Nichols, it wasn't until February 2015, nearly 6 years after Ronda's death, that he was arrested and charged with her murder. The arrest came as Nichols was returning to the United States at San Francisco International Airport after spending time in China with his daughter. Nichols was initially charged with first-degree murder. The indictment had been obtained secretly in 2014 while Nichols was still in China. The charges sent shockwaves through the community and brought renewed attention to the case that had gone cold for years. The prosecution's case against Nichols was largely circumstantial, but compelling. They pointed to the life insurance policy as a key piece of evidence, suggesting it provided a financial motive for murder. They also highlighted Nichols' troubled past, including the allegations of violence from his previous marriage. Another crucial element of the prosecution's case was the inconsistencies in Nichols' statements. His initial account to the 911 dispatcher differed in several key details from later versions of events he provided to investigators. These discrepancies, the prosecution argued, indicated that Nichols was lying about what truly happened on the trail. However, the case against Nichols was not without its challenges. The investigation had been marred by several missteps, including the destruction of key evidence by the lead detective before his retirement. This included crime scene photos, autopsy photos, and trailhead fee envelopes from potential witnesses. These errors would later play a significant role in the legal proceedings. The road to trial was long and fraught with legal complications. Nichols' defense team, led by attorney Mike Arnold, aggressively challenged the prosecution's case. They successfully argued for the suppression of Nichols' statements to San Mateo County detectives following his arrest, citing a violation of his right against self-incrimination. In a surprising turn of events, just as the trial was set to begin in May 2017, prosecutors offered Nichols a plea deal. The murder charge was dropped, and Nichols pleaded guilty to criminally negligent homicide and coercion. He was sentenced to 3 years of probation, with credit for the 19 months he had already served in jail awaiting trial. The plea deal was met with mixed reactions. While it brought some closure to the case, many, including Ronda's family, felt that justice had not been fully served. The relatively light sentence for what they believed was a deliberate act of murder left them feeling betrayed by the justice system. Throughout the investigation and legal proceedings, Stephen Nichols maintained his innocence in Ronda's death. In various statements and interviews, he consistently portrayed their relationship as loving and stable, contradicting the accounts given by Ronda's friends and family. Nichols claimed that he and Ronda were planning to get married and that they had been looking at engagement rings. He described the period leading up to the hike as the closest they had ever been. However, these statements stood in stark contrast to the picture painted by those who knew Ronda, who described a relationship fraught with tension and unhappiness. In a revealing interview with 48 Hours, Nichols provided his most detailed account of the events surrounding Ronda's death. He described the hike as part of their weight loss plan and insisted that their relationship was strong. When pressed about the details of Ronda's fall, Nichols maintained that he had no physical contact with her and that he either witnessed her slip or take a deliberate jump off the trail. Perhaps most controversially, Nichols introduced the possibility of suicide during this interview. He suggested that Ronda's fall could have been a pre-planned action on her part, where she wanted to end her life. This claim was met with disbelief and anger from Ronda's family, and friends, who insisted that she had no reason to take her own life, especially given her devotion to her young daughter. The death of Rhonda Casto and the subsequent investigation and trial of Stephen Nichols remain shrouded in controversy and unanswered questions. While the legal case has been resolved, the truth about what happened on the Eagle Creek Trail that fateful day in March 2009 may never be fully known. This case serves as a stark reminder of the complexities involved in investigating and prosecuting domestic homicides. It highlights the challenges faced by the justice system when dealing with circumstantial evidence and the importance of thorough and meticulous police work. For Rhonda's family and friends, the pain of her loss continues. Her daughter, now growing up without her mother, serves as a poignant reminder of the life cut short. As for Stephen Nichols, while he has maintained his innocence, he will forever be linked to this tragic event. The story of Ronda Casto's death is more than just a true crime narrative. It's a cautionary tale about the dangers that can lurk within relationships, the importance of listening to and supporting loved ones, and the devastating consequences that can arise when trust is betrayed. As we reflect on this case, we are reminded of the value of every life and the enduring human desire for truth and justice.